Hello and welcome to Tonic Studios. Today I'm here with the lovely Leo and obviously it's me, Karen. We're here to show you our wonderful Tonic Tuesdays. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be sharing with you some tips, techniques and tutorials. Today we're focusing on Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day or Palentine's Day, St. Dwynwen's Day. We're all things love. So for today's Tonic Tuesday, we are, as I said, focusing on all things love, all things friendship, things like that. Yeah. We've started off with a sketch. So Leo found us a lovely sketch online. We've printed it out for you to see here. Paperplaysketches.blogspot.com. There's lots of sketches out there. I mean, so many places do them. You can do your own.
Yeah, just Google card sketches and you'll find lots and lots. And they're not only for cards. You can take a sketch and use it for a memory book page or a scrapbook page. Lots of things, but they're a great starting off point. So if you are new to card making or you find it difficult to be inspired or you don't know what to do, I always find a sketch is a great place to start to kind of give me an idea.
It's an excellent place to start, it really is. And I mean, we've made 3 completely different cards based on that sketch.
So if I pull that into
let's bring yours in first because you've gone full as it is.
So here you can see the sketch. So we've got obviously our main element here. We've got some little banners or tape flags up here. We've got a different matte and layer piece and then an extra element on the side. And I've translated that pretty literally for me. So I have my little tape flags at the top. Here is my main element. I've got my matte and layer and then my little element to the side. But then if we take that same sketch and we try it in a different way. So what did you do with yours?
I turned it.
There we go.
So there's my main element, my 2 separate layers, my element here with my little special friend on, and my tape flags. So I've gone exactly the same, but different.
Different orientation.
Yeah.
And then Alison has done something different again. It's going to be hard for me to explain now because she did this and she's not here. So she has basically flipped it.
Yes.
So you're going to, I don't think you can see through the paper.
No.
So we've done it this way. So we've got our little tape flags here. We've got our main element here. And then she's got another little element that she's actually hidden under here. So she's got an extra heart. And then with the layers, instead of doing layers, she has done a border instead.
It's very, very nice. So it just goes to show that the sketch doesn't actually need to be the same shape even.
Nope.
You can change the shape, change the orientation, flip it, do whatever you want.
Exactly. It's a starting off point, basically. It doesn't have to be a literal translation. Use it as a way of perhaps deciding what elements you want to put on a card. And then in terms of the products that we've used, we have literally just gone with things that have been recently released, things that are going to have been on our desk anyway.
Yep.
Literally. Things that have been on our desk. So we've gone with things like the Heart and Hexagon split box that we've just released. We've got our Simply Sentiments on here. We've got some pattern panels that we've recently released. What is the selection of sentiments? And the intricate oval layering dies as well. So things that have released over the past couple of months. So they're going to have been things that we've very recently had our hands on anyway. Yeah. But of course you've probably got hearts or other elements in your stash.
Exactly.
You've probably got sentiments already. So have a look at what you've got. You don't necessarily have to go and buy something new to make a card.
Exactly. So what are we going to do first? Do you wanna recreate your card first?
Let's do that. So I took my kind of colour inspiration from one of the Heart and Hexagon split boxes that we made for the packaging. And I've sort of gone a slightly more masculine route. So obviously Valentine's cards, they tend to be very red and flowery and quite girly or pinks, and you know, not everyone wants to give a very overly girly kind of a card.
No, they do
so I've
not.
tried to pull it back a little bit. I've still got those lovely elements. We've still got hearts on here. Yeah, we're still talking about love, but maybe in a slightly less girly way. So if I bring in all of the pieces that I have pre-done, and then we've got a couple of little bits that we can do. So I'm starting with a card blank. I love creating cards with card blanks. It gives me a nice, perfect little size sort of mat that I can work on. I don't have to think about it too much. And I am very much a small card person. That is my love language, because there's less space to fill. I don't have to think of as many things to put onto it. So I have gone with one of our craft card blanks, and this is a US A2 size. And then I have a couple of my elements already done, and then we're going to put them together. So I have done my inside mat and layer as well. Because it is a craft card, you don't have a white inside. Oh no.
Do you know what?
Am I showing you
always
up now?
get an overachiever. Do you know I didn't put anything on the inside of mine?
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's fine.
I didn't get a memo.
I'm very sorry. So because it is a craft card, obviously you've got your textured brown sort of inside, and it's not necessarily the easiest to write on. So I have done a matte layer as well. And I'm going to put those in first of all, so they can be drying while we're doing everything else. So I've just done some ocean blue classic card, a little white layer, and I've just stamped I love you on the inside.
So cute.
And again, that was from the Simply Sentiments stamp set.
This is a lovely, lovely set, because you've got the dies, but in the dies you've got a little tag, that's what I've used for my little flags on the side there.
So layer that up. And I have not brought down my measurements with me, which is not helpful, but I have literally just stepped this in. So with matting and layering, I think that's something that people sometimes struggle with as well. Decide whether you're going to be working in metric or imperial. Doesn't matter, whichever you're most comfortable with. And then think of stepping down in increments. So you can either go down 1/4 of an inch, or if you want a bigger border, maybe go down 1/2 inch. And just work in layers like that, and make sure that obviously you're taking in the same amount on all sides.
Both sides, yeah. Yeah.
So I have a feeling for my ocean layer I came in 1/2 inch, and for the white one I think I did 1/4.
Yeah.
That looks about right. So that's my matte layer on the inside, and then I have to start building the front of my card. I have my 2 pieces to go on here. So this is from our Christmas Magic patterned paper booklet, How Trend, and another piece of ocean blue.
Nice.
And because I don't want them to butt up exactly, I want them to slightly overlap, just to make sure that we hide any edges. So I'm going to put down the ocean piece first, and I've made this slightly wider than I need it to be. So a little bit of glue on the back. And I'm using wet glue for this just because I want to be able to slide it around if I need to. So I'm going to stick this to this edge, making sure that I have an even border on those 3 sides, like so. Pop that into place. Again, wet glue on here.
Almost seems a shame to cover up the
I know,
the back of the
spots.
paper.
They were just a bit too dark for what I wanted to do with this one. But equally lovely paper that you could definitely use elsewhere. So I want to do exactly the same again. I want to put it down this way this time, and make sure I have an even border on those 3 sides.
And then you'll be automatically matched with your other one.
Ta-da, just like that. And it saves you having to try and measure the exact measurements. And then it doesn't matter if it's slightly off.
No,
not a problem. So that is the very basis of my card. I've cut myself my main element, which is this lovely heart die. And this is from the Heart and Hexagon split box. It's literally just the base of the inner box. Perfect heart for all kinds of projects.
It is.
And because I'm putting this onto, it's going to be half on the paper and half on the ocean, I want it to actually pop, so I'm going to give myself a little craft layer to one side.
Nice.
So that when you put it down, you still see this edge, because if you had just the ocean on ocean, it would get lost.
And that actually makes it look a little bit 3D.
It does. It does.
Because it's
kind
just
gives
on
it
the
that,
one,
that little something. So where shall I start? Yeah, let's put this on. Let's get this stuck down. Let's go for it. I'm going with foam pads now because I wanted to
give it a bit of lift, give it a bit of oomph.
So it's a good thing to think about as well when you're making cards. Don't think about putting all of your layers flat necessarily. I mean, if you are posting it, and you have to think,
unless you're sending,
unless you are posting. Obviously, if you are posting, bear in mind that you're going to have to look at your postage costs. Here in the UK, that would be the difference probably between a letter and a large letter, depending on how thick your card ended up being. But if you don't need to be restrained by postage, add some height with foam pads, and it kind of gives you that different element, different textures again. It just helps to break up your card slightly for you.
It does.
So next up then, I'm going to work on my little tape flags that are going to go at the top. So we have got some paper here that has been shimmered, and actually this is some that Al did for, I don't know what, she did it a long time ago. She had a whole A4 sheet that was shimmer powdered using Atlantis Burst, which is this lovely kind of tealy, and I think she added a tiny bit of falling leaves over the top. But she did it with one of her glitter misters.
Yes.
So you're getting a much more fine split on the colours, which is what exactly I was looking for. So rather than having to make it myself, I just stole her sheet of paper, basically. Thanks, Al. So I have 3 pieces for my little tape flags. I have one in craft, on that side. I've got one in the lovely shimmer powder, and I have one in ocean blue. And I have actually cut my tape flags myself. I haven't used a die for these. I've done it with scissors. I'm going to show you how to do that. And this is going to be really fun for me to try and show on camera and be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take the scissors. We're going to find the center on this side. And we're going to cut. Let me get my finger out of the way a bit more. We're going to cut just a tiny little slit up the center. So it doesn't have to go up too far. Just a little bit like so. So hopefully you can see maybe just about good. Then I'm going to go from this corner to the top of that split on this side. And these are nice straight lines, so just one single cut with your blades is all you need. Spin it around, and now this is where it's going to be hard. Are you going to
flip it? You could flip it and you could cut from the other way.
Oh, look at you being smart. There we go. It's not normally how I do it. I would normally hold this side and go that way. But yeah, flip it the other way, as my good friend Karen tells me here. Actually, can you see that? There we go. And I'm going to do exactly the same. So go from this point up to the top of that little slit that you've just cut. Just like so. And there you have a perfect little tape flag.
Oh, that is very
super simple. And I'm going to do exactly the same with my little piece of shimmer powder cardstock here while I have the scissors in my hands, because I'm going to need this in a moment.
They are lovely colours in that.
I know.
It's harder to see with that shimmer powder, isn't it?
To see.
But when you do the other one from the back.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So cut from that corner, straight up to there. Boop. Didn't quite cut enough because I couldn't see.
Funnily enough.
Yeah, there we go.
You go.
That's my other one.
Fantastic.
So for my tape flags, obviously I haven't cut this one down to size yet, so I want to show you how to do this, but I did want to show you how I have embossed this one. So if I pop this, do we have this camera working today? Yes. Back somewhere here. Yeah. So I've actually embossed this ever so slightly using one of the pattern dies in the set, and I wanted to show you how I've done that, because it's not something that we talk about often enough, I don't think, and we should, because it's a really lovely technique.
It's a lovely technique. I love this.
So fingers crossed it goes right.
I used to do this a lot when I was working from home, and I was making things for the DT, because that's where I started. I used to do this an awful lot. I used to emboss a die rather than cutting it. It's lovely.
Make sure I've not lost any of my pieces on the bottom there. So I have my die here. So it's just a pattern die. So you've got that lovely. I think this looks like circuit board. That's where my brain goes every time I see that. And I'm going to build up my sandwich. Now this is a slightly different embossing sandwich just because of the thickness of the card that I'm using. So I have my orange plate. I have my green mat. I'm going to pop my cardstock down. So I've already cut this to the length that I want it to be and put in my little flags at the bottom. I'm going to sit my die over the top, making sure I cover it. There we go. And I am going to risk it. I don't know, because I'm only taping this to this. It should be fine.
You got some?
Yeah, there's a bit of secondhand tape on here. There we go. Tape that down onto there, and I actually have a raspberry plate that I'm going to go over the top with. Now, this is the sandwich that I used upstairs on my machine upstairs, so hopefully it is going to work the same down here.
I mean, the tolerances on machines are different, but we'll risk it.
We'll give it a go. We might have to play with this. And it will vary depending on the thickness of the card that you're using. So if you are embossing with dies, it's probably something that you're going to have to play with.
It is trial and error. You definitely have to have a little play around, I think.
What do we recommend? Did that work?
Yes, it did. Perfecto.
So you don't want it to have too much pressure because you don't want it to actually cut the cardstock. If I put it here, can you see it a bit better?
Yeah.
So you can see you've got the texture in there now. If the plates that you're using are too thick, you are going to end up cutting slightly.
Yeah, you will.
So yeah, just play around and see which one works for the type of cardstock that you're using.
I mean, if you do want more of a texture and you want it to kind of cut through and still all stay in place, pop a bit of tape on the back afterwards, and then you know all your pieces are going to stay.
Exactly. So I want to layer up my little tape flags now. I'm going to put that over there so I don't whip it off the desk by accident. And I want them to be slightly staggered. So if I just make sure these are not too long for my card. That could probably come down ever so slightly. So just trim that.
Snippety snip.
Snippety snip indeed. So I want that one to be like that, and then I want this one to sit in the middle of the two. So I want a little bit of ocean on one side, lots of the shimmer powder. You want to see the shimmer powder, right?
It's beautiful.
All of that lovely colour. Don't want to waste it. So yeah, I think about there is where I'm going. So spot of glue down this side of this one. Just again, wet glue gives you that wiggle room if you need it. We're going to put that onto there.
It's really nice to see how people craft though, isn't it? Because this isn't a one particular die set that we've used, that when we're making packaging, we have to use that die set and nothing else really.
Yeah.
We have to keep it clean and crisp, and you need to see what that item does. But for this,
we get to play with all kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that I have those stuck how I want them to be, all nicely laid up, I'm just going to flip it over and snip to the lowest one. So big scissors for this because we're cutting through a couple of layers of cardstock, including craft, which doesn't always like to be cut. And I'm just going to stick that onto my card.
Lovely.
At the top. Next piece done.
Very nice.
Ooh, bit of wet glue down there. Now I'm predominantly using wet glue for this because I am not necessarily always the neatest placer. Sometimes I am, but not always. So you're going to do my bow for me. Oh no, I actually did it with I did it with deluxe.
Oh, did you really?
I did.
Wow. Oh, I won't plug it in then.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you for thinking of me. Where did I actually have my jute? All the way over here. Thank you for reminding me that I need that. So yeah, I am using wet glue because it gives you that little bit of wiggle room. If things don't hit exactly on the right spot, you know, with wet glue, you can shimmy it about a bit if you need to.
Yeah, I would have put that one with a glue gun. That's why I just went and got it thinking, oh, we've forgotten the glue gun.
It was intentional, believe it or not.
Well done.
So let's get the sentiment banner sorted next. So I have pre-stamped. With stamping onto vellum, which is what I've done here, you're going to need to leave it to dry. So I have used just our regular hybrid ink. This is just our black shadow. But because vellum isn't porous, the ink doesn't soak into it in the same way that it would with a standard, like a classic card or a smooth card. It just kind of sits on the surface. So you do need to put it somewhere to the side to dry, because if you touch it too soon, it is going to smudge.
And if you try and heat it, it curls.
Exactly. So you just have to have patience with that one, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately.
So I want this again. Oh, I should mention also I have cut this with the decor trimmer. So hopefully you can see it's kind of got that little torn edge look to it.
I have got one behind me. Do you want me to bring that in?
Let's have a quick look at the decor.
It's
a lovely.
All of these things over.
It is a very lovely thing. So our decor trimmer. If I lift this up, hopefully you can see this blade edge here. Nope, not at all.
No.
That way.
Yeah.
Slightly. Hopefully you can see that it is ever so slightly wavy. It kind of has that torn edge built in, both onto this cutting edge and the blade up here, and it makes a beautiful noise when you cut with it, but it gives you that lovely torn edge look without actually having to tear your paper, which I always find very stressful.
But it's not it's not a repeat.
No,
It is
an imperfect tear.
Yeah.
It is all different. So you don't get a very obviously cut with a decal trimmer kind of look to it.
You do not.
It looks like you have hand torn it without all of the stress of, is my tear going to go in the right place?
Because as well, when you're trying to do that with, there are scissors and all sorts of things to do this, it's really difficult.
Trying to line it back up? Yeah, because
And
obviously your blades are only that long.
And if you've got one of those rotary ones with you've got the repeat.
Yes.
And that's not perfect either, because you've just got that same cut over and over and over. Whereas with that, you've got a full length of different decal.
Different decal.
Different decal.
That's what we're looking for.
Different tear
and
across the whole thing.
A straight tear as well.
You are.
Yes.
You are.
Yeah,
yes.
which is nice. So if you are doing it like on a top and bottom of a piece of cardstock or something like that, or down the edge of something, you're not gonna be tearing and then all of a sudden you get this whoop in the middle.
And what I like about that as well is you can do a full layer for a card.
Yes.
So you've got measurements on there, and you've got your perfect layer. So that's the other thing with the decal trimmer.
Beautiful piece of kit. I love it. I use it quite often. So with my layers, I wanted to slightly mute my shimmer powder. I still want you to be able to see it, but not quite as much. And obviously trying to stamp onto that shimmer powder, you're going to lose that sentiment, which is why I've chosen vellum to go over the top. It's a nice way to mute things without completely hiding them. And this is the pure white, which is the 100 GSM. So I've gone with the lower weight this time. And I want my tape flag for the vellum to be further back so you see the full shimmer powder. So I'm going to cut it off like that first, and then I'm going to do my tape flag again in exactly the same way that I did before. So a little notch. Buenos noches.
I didn't say it. It was really, really good.
Do that side and then flip it and do the same again. And of course you can use a die to cut your tape edges, and I'm sure my lovely friend is going to show exactly how she's done that.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
But if you have a pair of scissors, you could do it easily without. Okay, next thing I have then is the rest of my sentiment. So I have the word love here. Wow, that looks tiny on screen. So again, this is from our Simply Sentiments, and I have double layered this. So I've cut it in craft with some of our tissue tape on the back. A lovely big roll of tissue tape like this, which is gorgeous stuff and we use it all the time. So for the craft layer, I had a piece of that tissue tape on the back, and then I cut it again in white. And because I've got that all over adhesive, it was very easy to line the two up with that slight offset, so you get a little highlight, I guess this would be. It's not a shadow this time, it's a highlight. And can I have some fine tip glue? Thank you very much. I could have put adhesive on again, but
I would have.
Quick enough to
Lazy crafter.
You said it.
I am a lazy crafter.
Quick enough though, just to put a little bit of white glue just over here. Thank you very much. If you want to pop that back upside down. And then this is the background for my sentiment word. And I want to make sure that the craft layer, the one that your eye sees the most, is the one that is centered in the background. So the highlight can be slightly skewer. This then is going to sit just under here, like, whoop, so you can see it like so. And I'm going to glue that on first, because I'm going to use that then to hide the glue.
That's what I was wondering.
For my vellum.
Because although we work in the same office, we kind of have a
divider.
A wall. Wall between us. We've got like laptops and die cases and all sorts of stuff on our desks, so I can't actually see across to what Leo's doing.
I like to hide my work. No secrets, you can't see what I'm doing.
So I'm always surprised when we make anything.
It's like a mystery to how I've done things. So I think we've talked about this when we spoke about cardstock. When you're gluing vellum, obviously you do see the glue. It is a translucent cardstock or paper, so you will see the glue behind it. So you want to try and hide it as much as you possibly can. So I'm going to glue my vellum behind that sentiment, so along here, but also a tiny bit where I have stamped.
Nice.
Just a couple of little dots along there. You will see it slightly, but not too much.
Because your eye is actually taken completely with the
sentiment.
The sentiment anyway.
Exactly. So pop this down again. I'm using wet glue so I can shimmy it if it doesn't go quite where I want it to.
Fabulous.
And I want a tiny little bit of my shimmer powder unvellummed at this end. So I have that. And now that I have this all stuck down, I can trim the shimmer powder piece just to the edge of the vellum. And then I'm going to put this across the centre of my heart, and I'm going to use some foam pads for this again. Because I want it again to bump up a bit.
Nice.
I don't want it to be flat.
No. We like a bit of texture, don't we? Like that.
We do. So a couple of these along the back. And with foam pads, I like to say, as with most glues, less is more. You need enough to steady something, but you don't need to completely cover your thing in foam pads. I see people sometimes just, you know, from one end right to the other, squeezing every last little millimetre, chopping it all down. No, I don't need to do that. As long as it's going to hold and it gives it that lift that you need.
Unless you're sending it through the post.
Well, yeah, then you don't want lift.
Then you want to make sure it's covered, because by the time it goes through the machinery,
it may have squished.
It's going to have squished somewhere.
True. So, almost there. Couple more elements to put on. I have some of our lovely jute twine here. So again, going with that sort of more masculine theme.
Would you like me to tie your bow for you?
No, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to be brave. Okay, I'm going to
do it.
This is a challenge now. So I'm going to bunny. I'm not even going to bunny use it. So I'm going to do a loop, and
oh no, I do bunny ear it for decorative bows. That's lovely. That's a lovely bow.
I might have to like take this out and just make a tiny little reel of me tying this perfect bow that I can just play myself over and over. So
you can do it.
I can do that. So I have my teeny tiny little bow. I'm just going to trim my ends. I definitely don't want it to be quite that long.
You definitely need enough. Don't think that you're wasting sort of your jute and your twine and your ribbon and things, because you need enough to tie.
You need enough to shimmy it and, you know, tweak all of the elements.
Yes, you do.
So we did have a little debate earlier about glue.
I honestly thought that you'd forgotten to put it on.
No. So normally we do say to hot glue things, but I have found that I can get this to stick. So I'm going to give myself a good blob of wet glue, and I'm literally just going to sit my bow onto it and just not touch it. So while that is to one side, thinking about its life choices and drying, I'm going to finish off with my little element. So again, I've used that lovely shimmer powdered piece of paper and just cut this little heart padlock. I'm going to give myself a little bit of jute through it. There's a bit of wet glue somewhere. I've just stuck my thumb in it. Nice. The joy of crafting. So form this, and I always need to think about this. I want it to go through from the front to look neat. Yeah, that's right.
I usually end up doing it twice.
Yeah, me too. I was trying to avoid having to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, put your loop through from the front and pull the tails through, and then you'll end up with a neat finish on there. And I'm literally just going to wet glue this under the edge. So a bit of wet glue, don't coach the project, under here. Slide that under. Because we've got foam pads on the bigger heart, we can tuck this under.
And if you had put the foam pads right to the end, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
So isn't it lucky that I remembered that while I was putting the foam pads on? Honest. Last thing then is just to trim the ends to an appropriate length for my card. And that is my card finished.
Beautiful.
Just like that.
Ah, all the same. That's fabulous.
Thank you very much.
So should we do a quick switcheroo?
So yeah, hold here, and then in a minute we'll be the other way around.
And we're back. Just like that. So now it's my turn to show you my card, and this is what I will be making for you today. This is my Valentines, Valentines. If you want to send your friend a card, I love my friends. So I've got my heart. Hello, special friend.
I like it.
I think that's quite appropriate enough for these occasions. So what I did to start off with is I made my card blank. So I wanted my card to open from the side, but it's a 5x7 card and I don't have that. So I cut myself 2 pieces of 5x7 cardstock here. I scored at 1 inch on one of them, and that is where I'm going to make my little fold line there. I'm going to add some glue onto this. I changed my glasses, no I haven't, that's why I can't see properly. There we go.
This is a great way of making card blanks if you want to make a size of card that perhaps you don't have.
Yeah.
And if you can't cut it out a single sheet of A4 or 8.5 by 11 and fold it,
No.
this is how you would get around that.
So I've now got my folded card blank with my little border at the side here. I mean, you can make this smaller, larger, whatever you want to do. But of course there's no crease on the front. So my front of my card is perfect there. So I shall leave that to one side to dry and change my glasses at the same time.
Very important feature.
Okay, so what I did for mine is I used a die called Delicate Dots Pattern Panel, which gives me a perfect layer for a 5x7 card, because it'll tell you here largest die cut on here is 4.6 inches by 6.7 inches. So it's giving me a nice border around. So there's my card, and this would be the layer as it would be before I trimmed it down. So I brought the two pieces down just for you to be able to see. So I'm going to, because this has got holes in it, I've backed it with a piece of gold card, which obviously is white on the back. So I've used, I think, Venetian, it's whatever gold that was in the cupboard, grabbed a piece out, popped it on the back. You're not really seeing an awful lot, but I can theme it through them with little bits and pieces on my card.
I like that as the card moves, you kind of just get that flash of it.
A little bit through. So I want to create my card front as one piece. So I've taken another of the outside edge. So this panel will come with, oops, I'm pointing to something you can't see. This comes with 2 dies. So you've got the outside edge as a separate piece, and then you've got the pattern for the center. So I've cut the outside edge again in black, so I can move my card out of the way completely, and I can construct on this. And then I can trim everything down and stick it straight onto my card front.
Nice idea.
So I started with my paper. Mariposa Moments. Please hide it.
Yeah.
Because I keep using it more and more and more. I can't help it. But I did have a reason. It's because yellow roses are for friendship.
They are indeed.
So that is why I chose this one. So I've cut a strip of that with some nice yellow roses on, and I'm just going to glue that to the bottom of my layer. So again, like Leo did earlier, I didn't want to match up exactly. So I have cut my my strip of paper slightly longer so that I can overlap and have a nice edge. There, make sure there's nothing, yep, we're all okay there. So that is glued into place. Then I am going to prepare my little borders. This does look like a scallop border, but what it is a great big length of hearts. Sorry about my arms, I'm just gonna peel these off for you to see here. Looking a little bit shabby as it is with all my tape. Let me take that one off. But what I've done is I've used my scoreboard, I've lined my hearts up, and then I've just popped a piece of double-sided tape across just to hold them in place, because we'll be putting some wet glue on the back of them later. So my gold ones are going first, so I can glue those into position on my, no I can't because you can't see it. You're lucky I could see that because I've got these glasses on now and I can't see the screen. So I'm going to glue these into position so it just looks like a little scalloped border.
I love that.
So my little hearts. So it is stuck to my mat, but that is fine because I'm using tissue tape and I will be able to move that
It's
afterwards.
really easier for you if it's slightly stuck to the mat so it doesn't.
It is. that's
Move
what
itself around.
that's what I'm doing. So I'm
Nice.
popping him down there, so it's stuck. I'm lining up with one of the lines on my glass mat as well, so I can see where I'm going. So this is going to hang off the edge just slightly, but I just want to be at the very tip of where those hearts meet. You can see where each heart dips down into the centre there, and that is going to stick right onto my card.
That's such an amazing tip as well. So if you don't have a scalloped edge, find a hard die.
Find a heart die, which we've all got.
Oh, God.
Then I'm going to snippety snip these. So the way I snip is I take a long scissors, I line my blade up with whatever I'm cutting alongside. So that is all nice and flat, and then I just take the end off. And I'll flip over and do the same again for this side. Line up with the edge of my card and snip. And that should give me a nice border.
Gorgeous.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did those because I've got another set to do. So what I used was, I'm going to put it on top of everything, it's fine. I got my scoring board, and I lined my hearts up just against the edge here. It took 6 for the gold layer, but because I need to go either side, then I need 8. I mean, I could do 7 and cut one in half, but there's no point, it's just another die cut. So we'll pop them all down, put one this side, make sure they're all meeting each other coming back. All the little hearts all in a row, come back. And you can come in line here, and you can come in line here. There we go. It doesn't matter what width tape you use, but I would suggest tissue tape for this.
You've got the option to unpeel it if it all goes horribly wrong then.
Exactly. So I'm just going to take a strip of tissue tape, and of course you can just tear it as well, so it's terrible tape.
It is.
Not terrible tape, terrible tape. And I'm just going to go straight down onto my mat, and then, come back. You see? You see what he did? He did that on purpose to me. Right, I'm just going to...
Just so you can show how to correct it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, okay. So the others are all nicely lined up there. And this little one decided to move. So I've unpeeled him.
He's had his time out in a corner.
Yes, he's had a talking to. And he's just going to go back in there. I'm going to line him back up and pop that back down.
Nice.
So there's my little hearts all ready to go on the back again.
You left our sweep.
Thank you.
Make sure I've not taken any of your pieces.
Don't worry about it, we'll find them later. And again, I'm going to stick it down to my glass mat. Oh, not straight. I'm going to stick it down to my glass mat straight. There, or thereabouts. Peel that off. Because this is the beauty of tissue tape. You can take it back off. You can take it off shiny surfaces. I mean, I just peeled that off a piece of normal 300 GSM card. So, you know, you can take it off everything really. And then I am going to... These bumps in my hearts is what I'm going to be lining up with the dips in the next heart. So I'm going to need to be, let me think. I've got too many. Have I got too many? No, I have not. Yeah, I only needed 7, not 8.
Aww.
Oh, look at me go. Right, if you can see, I'm lining up the dip here with the very edge of these hearts. So that can go on there. And come down slightly. So I'm hiding my tape. There we go. And we can take him off. Off you go.
Save him for another project.
Save him for another one. And we're going to do exactly the same again. So using this to line my blade up to snip. Take that off.
Yes, That's a great tip for lining up layers on cards as well. If you
Yes.
overshoot them and then trim them back, that's always the
definitely.
easier way than trying to line up things that are exactly the same size.
Definitely. So again, line up my blade, and I know I'm going to be just there. But I didn't want to do the 2 layers together because I had a 300 GSM black and a nice heavyweight gold card as well. Yes, 250 I think. So you can see how much I've trimmed off as well. I mean, I didn't really do a measurement. I kind of just went, oh yeah, I want about that much off. I shoved it in my trimmer and took it off.
Trimmed it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you want to see my trimmer? Do you want to see what I've done to my trimmer?
Oh yes. Big tips this is. All the tips today.
All the tips today. Right. So I wanted to cut my cardstock down. So slid it in, slid my A4 in, cut it down. I wanted a 5x7. So I cut it down at 5 inches. You can see there. I'm on my 5-inch line. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm on my 5-inch line. And then when I put that in, I'm like, oh God, I haven't got a 7. Well, I have now, because I got my ruler.
You've added extras. I
have added extras. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but when I'm in a rush and the trimmers are on the other side of the room, or I've piled loads of stuff on top of it and I can't see my big trimmer, I can still cut myself a 5x7 card blank.
I like it.
Because I've made my own. Okay. Let's get back to this. So I'm still constructing on my layer here, and this can now be glued into position. I'm just going to finish off, because I don't like that raw edge, because I've got these dots. There you go. I've got these dots here, and they're just on the very edge. I want to cover that. So I'm going to use some red line to put the thinnest of thin ribbon on there. So the ribbon is 3mm, the red line tape is 3mm as well. So you just need to put it on the very, very edge, she says. There we go.
Top tip again, like gluing ribbon. If you're gluing it flat, always use a tape of some variety. If you try to use wet glue, it'll wrinkle, it'll come through your ribbon.
It will.
It'll just be a nightmare.
It will. It's just not worth it.
No.
You may as well just, and again, I'm using my mat to take the top off my tape there. I've got my nice little piece of twisted ribbon. Right, make sure I cover all of that tape, because you do not want any gluey marks on the front. And then my tape is on there, flip him over, trim off the excess that's not stuck. And again here, excess, fold over, here you go. Up again. So that is my ribbon in position. And now it can go onto my layer.
And tucking the ribbon around the back like that means that even if it frays, you're not going to see the
Doesn't
frayed
matter.
edge.
It doesn't matter, does it? That's why I like to wrap and encase it all in there. So now I'm going to glue that on.
Look at you going in with a precision nozzle to do that.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
have just gone with the straight deluxe bottle this way.
Nah.
It's funny how we all do things still so differently.
Yeah, exactly. I still use because I only keep one bottle open at a time. If I want more, I squeeze from the end like that, and it'll come out a little bit thicker because I'm putting more pressure on. And that is fine. That's just going to be enough to hold everything in position. All my hearts are all stuck and everything. Fantastic. Okay, let's line this up with my layer, because this layer is the same size, obviously. I'm just going to pick that up, make sure I get that spot on the sides. There we go. And that's all ready to be stuck onto my card. So I'm going to add my little tape flags on now on the side. So I have got, mine are just going to be glued straight on, and I'm going to snippety snip at the end. I'm going to do it in the same formation as I've done there because I quite like that. So I want to make sure I see everything. So I've got a gold, I've got a gold there, haven't I? Let's put a nice thin gold in the centre and the thin black at the end. So I think that's the way I'm going to put mine on. I'm going to glue from about there down. Let's put my first one in. About there-ish. I'll do it, just line up with, I'm just lining with some dots there. Yeah, they look okay.
So you've got a pattern you can line up to. If you
Yes.
don't have a pattern, just use the grid on your glass
Yes,
mat.
on your glass mat. Yeah. And my next one's going in, which is a thin gold. And I'm probably need a bit more glue than that actually. Let's go in with that one, and that's going slightly shorter there, slightly shy of that first one. And then my black. And I have cut these because if you do have this die set, it comes with a layer and a cut-in die as well. So you've got 2 dies to cut these with. So I'm going to pop this last one on. Keep forgetting to tell you what I've done. I'm just happily making a card, enjoying life. There we go. And then I'm going to put that one up against there. I shall snip those because I'm putting another layer on top. Alright, yeah, you can see I've got some glue sticking out there. So I'm just going to go up to the edge again and snip straight down. So that's my first lot of little flags on the side there. Let's get rid of some rubbish. I'm very messy, you know. And then for my second one, so the bit that I cut off, which is here, this is the one I cut off this sample, but the one I cut off this sample, I cut 2 of these out of it.
Nice.
And I backed it with with a black one this time because we're going onto here. So I've got a nice gold with a smudge on. I'm just going to clean that off. I've got a nice gold one there, so I'm going to pop some glue onto this. And I'm going to overlap slightly. I want to see the black, but I also want to show plenty of that gold.
Good tip for things like this. So if you're layering things up, try not to make them too symmetrical.
Yeah.
Try and offset them. I know it feels weird when you first start doing it.
Yes, it does. Especially
you
for
want to
me.
line everything up perfectly.
Yeah.
But it actually is more pleasing to the eye if you try and offset things slightly. So different lengths, different widths between them and things like that as well.
So I am going to put this one down, and that I'm slightly overlapping here. Again, just to, like you say, offset, try and get my level right. And let's hope that that'll stick enough for me too.
Snippety snip.
Snippety snip again. So we'll take that off. Again, just lining my scissors up. It is thick. It's very thick. Wow. Right. But it worked.
Nice.
Okay, so those are my little tabs on the side there. Now I think I can stick this onto my card front.
Ooh.
Because, well, I don't need to line anything up to the edges. I don't need to trim off at the edges. So I am ready to put this onto
trim
here.
off your sentiment at the edge.
I was going to do that first. Because it doesn't really matter
Okay, that's fine.
how much that is cut, as long as I can see my word in. So I was going to do that one. All right. Okay.
You do it your way.
No,
I just
no,
wasn't
I'm
sure
fine.
if that was
I'm
how
fine.
you were planning on doing it.
Okay, I'll put my sentiment on first then. Now, what I wanted to show you with this, I have actually got another tip, so I'm going to put that out of the way. So I wanted, if you can see here, I have got a very, very small shadow showing around here. Now, you can either cut it and use the small scissors and get in and cut all these little edges, or this is if you haven't got a die to match it, which I haven't because I'm using the larger of the two dies. So what I've done is I've cut another one exactly the same, which I'm going to glue on here, and then I'm going to, I've cut the same again, and I've split this one right down the centre, just with the scissors, nothing special. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these just showing at the sides there.
Nice.
And even though you've got a little line just at the very edge there, I honestly don't think you're going to see it. I don't think you are. So I'm going to glue this one down first so we can see what we're doing.
Top tip indeed.
It is a top tip. An uppy downy, as it were.
An uppy downy, as we refer to them.
So if we haven't got a matching layer, we'll always do something that we have lovingly named an uppy downy, because it was how we described it one day. You know,
You got a bit up,
uppy and down.
A bit up and a bit down.
It's an
Or a
uppy downy.
sidey-sidey.
A sidey-sidey or an uppy downy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. So that one's glued into position there. And I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to these as well. I was going to do this with tape.
No tape.
I know.
We don't use tape a lot, but there are definitely applications where tape
Oh.
is the choice.
Absolutely there are.
Like I said, gluing ribbon,
Uh-huh.
temporary hold, or...
Well, I thought with this I can slide it, can't I?
Mhm.
But I am going to have to leave it to dry then afterwards. So what you're going to find is that's going to... My glue is going to shoot out there.
When you snippity-snip.
When I snippity snip,
Mm.
indeed.
That's
So
fine.
I'm just going to put a little bit more glue this side. Just a little bit. It doesn't need much because you're holding onto a plain back, so it's not going to be glued onto a metallic back as well. Because this single-sided card, I'm going to have to slide it off because I don't want to crush them by moving them, and there we go. And we can see there that is just going to give me that little border all the way around. You wouldn't notice that tiny bit at the end, but I am going to put that over there.
Too dry.
Off you go.
Mm-hmm.
Stay there. Please dry. Please dry. I mean, when we were upstairs yesterday making them, you've got plenty of time just to leave it, haven't you? Okay, I am going to stick my card together because then I can put my heart on as well. So here's my layer. That is just going to glue into position with my...
And that's why I still use my other bottom.
You don't like the sound?
I don't like the scratch sound. No, exactly.
Scratchy, scratchy.
I think I probably have about 4 balls of glue on,
Really?
on my desk. Yeah.
Well, I say I don't have another one. I do have another one open, but I just never reach for it because my other one is near me and I always keep it on its edge, so it's always ready to go. Right, let's have a little look. That looks pretty central to me there. I'm happy with that. I have got my heart cut from the Mariposa, and that's using the box base here. But I also use the box lid, which is slightly bigger, but cut into 2. So here's my layer for underneath. What I'm going to do with this, so I'm going to put some tape on it, on the back first. I'm just going to put a little bit of, see what I mean, where we do use tape, but we use it more as a means to an end, I think.
Yeah, we don't use it as like a permanent hold.
No, we don't. I'm going to take that bit off, so I don't want it showing. And now I can line up my other half heart there, and hopefully, if I've done it correctly, I've got a teeny tiny little border all the way around,
Nice.
which is all I wanted. So you can look at that lovely paper.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Oh, the back.
Everything that we make using Mariposa is
I
our
know.
favourite project.
Definitely, especially with black.
Mm-hmm.
Really makes it pop. Okay, there is my layer on top. Let's slide them off.
Yay for wet glue.
Yay for wet glue, definitely. So I can shifty him round and then take that off and get myself some black foam pads because I've got black die cut. So
I love
here.
the fact that we now have black
Oh,
foam
me
pads.
too. It's amazing. Let's put one there, one in the centre, here, like that. I want to make sure that I am going to put, I know you say you don't have to cover everything, and you don't, but I've got a split in the middle of my heart,
I guess
so
you want to make sure that stays
yes,
stuck together.
I do.
That's
So
understandable then.
there we are, I'm popping another one just there, one will do. I don't think I need to support the back any more than that because that will be plenty. My card is deciding to lift. Let's not do that, please. So now I am going to match this up with my dots again. And line that up on the front of my card. I'll take my little release paper off of my pads off here. You can see I've got that there. I'm going to line up with some dots because of this pattern, just cries out for it really.
Mm-hmm. That's another good tip if you are a card maker doing any kind of grafting. If you have a pattern that has a repeat like that,
Yeah.
try and line up to it.
I mean, I didn't do that on purpose. It just, as I was gluing my one on yesterday, that's the way it looked. I was, oh, that's good. Look what I've got. Next piece of my puzzle is adding my little hello. And you can see I've done the same. Here's my scrap that I used, which was just a little bit of gold that I had hanging around. I've put my tape on the back from my big reel. There we are. It's that piece. Any bit of excess, I just stick it straight back on because I don't waste any of this.
Nope.
I've cut my hello. I've popped it straight onto there, and I'm going to use the next size down. I've used all sizes of the foam pads today. I've
This
got...
is why we do multiple sizes, because you need different ones for different
Oh,
things.
you do. I mean, you can cut them, don't get me wrong, but do you want to be cutting them for everything? I certainly don't.
I love that you've got in with tweezers as well. This is precision crafting.
Oh, this is the only way I can do these. I love my tweezers. I absolutely love them. I'll have another one on top of that, and I think that should do me. Yes. I'll take my little tops off there. My release paper. Broke
Just
my
in case you
nail.
can hear the rain over
Yeah.
the top
Sorry.
of this. Yes, apologies. It is a very wet Welsh day today.
Typically Welsh.
Typically Welsh.
Okay, so there's my hello, and I'm going to pop that right in the centre of my heart there. My lovely yellow roses showing. What I love about the Mariposa is you've got these miniature of the bigger
Yep.
sheets. I love that because you can cut a small little element. And my last element to go on is going to be my special friend, which I'm hoping has dried enough for me to snip at the end here.
We'll all cross our fingers for you.
Yeah, that it doesn't move. We're okay. We're okay.
Good, good.
I'm gonna glue that on flat, I think, because I've got my extra lift there, and I think I'm gonna leave this one flat. So I've got some glue to go on the back, just down there and down there, because this is where you can see where my layer has split in the centre, just to bring it out either side. And I'm gonna line that up with the very edge there, pop it down, and we're all done.
Gorgeous. Lovely
Two
card.
cards, almost the same. Not looking too bad, I don't think.
Excellent.
There we go.
So hopefully that has given you some ideas on how to make some fairly basic cards using a card sketch. So don't forget, if you have never used a sketch before, if you just do a quick web search for card sketches or craft sketches, you'll find a whole host of different ones. Pick one that kind of speaks to you and see what you can come up with. I would love to see what ideas you have, and do show us. We'd love to see in the group if you find a good sketch that you'd like to share.
But again, going back to the sketches, when you think of it, you know, even though this is a circle, we haven't used it as a circle.
No, we've used a heart.
These strips here, yes, we've used them in that way, but Alison's used actual ribbon on hers. You know, so there are so many ways to use these. That doesn't need to be shaped like that.
No,
it could just be, it could be a strip right the way down. It could be anything. You know, you can just use them and adapt them as to whatever you want. And again, there's mine. The way I've changed mine that way.
Perfect.
I love them. I love them.
Well, I think we've come up with 3 very different looking cards.
Definitely.
From the same sketch. I'll just pop them all back there so you can see them together again. So there are our 3 finished cards for Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day, Palentine's Day, and
St. Doin Wednesday.
Thank you very much. There's no hope of that coming out of my mouth, I'm afraid. So hopefully that has given you some inspiration and again some kind of tips and techniques for your card making if it's something that you are new to or you're unsure of or you're just not quite sure where to start.
We've done lots of different things. We had a nice time playing with these as well, didn't we?
We did. It's not something we do very often. We don't make a lot of cards, unfortunately. We'd like to make more.
We would.
So hopefully you'll see some more of this kind of thing coming forwards. If you have any questions or comments, don't forget to pop them down below. We'll certainly come back and answer those for you. The products that we've mentioned today are currently available on our website. Obviously there are new things that are coming up all the time, so depending on when you're watching this, they may not be. But anything that we have used, we have linked down in the description below if you are interested as well.
Yes. I think that is us. I think we're done, finally.
I think we are. So thank you very much for joining us for this Tonic Tuesday. We'll be back again with another one next week for you as well, so look out for that. And we'll see you all again very soon.
Happy crafting!